Welcome back to part 7 of the Gods and Goddesses of the Prince of Egypt. Today, let me introduce you to the patron deity of Upper Egypt and one of the 2 deities of a unified Egypt. Her name is... Now, Nekbet was the protective goddess of Upper Egypt. If you didn't know, the ancient Egyptians separated Egypt into 2 main sections: Upper Egypt, which is down below me, and Lower Egypt, which is right here. Now, that's a little bit confusing because technically Upper Egypt is in the south and Lower Egypt is in the north. And that's not because the ancient Egyptians didn't know what north and south was, they just followed the flow of the Nile. So the Nile flows from the south to the north, so anything upstream was Upper Egypt, anything downstream was Lower Egypt. Nekbet was an early pre-dynastic vulture goddess who was mainly worshipped in the city of her name, called Nekheb, which is now commonly called El Kab. Her temple in that city is one of the earliest temples we have in all of ancient Egypt. She was also seen as a protector of royal children and of expectant mothers. As I mentioned, Nekbet is portrayed as a vulture, and sometimes, but very rarely, portrayed as a woman with a vulture head. And sometimes people think that she is either depicted as a griffin vulture or a lappet-faced vulture, which are 2 different types of vultures. Now, she is not just a typical vulture, say like the goddess Mut, which we've already talked about. She will usually always be depicted wearing this crown. Now, this crown is typically painted white and is known as the white crown or the Hedjet crown of Upper Egypt. If you ever see a king wearing just this crown, that shows that he is ruling over just Upper Egypt. And then you'll also see him wearing a white and a red crown, which means he's ruling over a unified Egypt. Usually she can be seen holding a Shen symbol with her claws, and that symbol essentially is a circle with a line at the bottom, and that means eternity in ancient Egyptian. Now, because Nekbet is the patron deity of Upper Egypt, it's very typical to see her depicted with Wadjet, who is the patron deity of Lower Egypt. Now, she is a snake goddess, and we're going to talk about her in a couple weeks, but I wanted to show you some depictions of the 2 of them together. They can frequently be seen together, especially in this aspect where they are back to back or side to side, and they are each wearing their respective crowns. They are called the 2 ladies, and usually whenever they are pictured together, it means that Egypt is unified under one pharaoh, who is ruling both Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt. Another great example of this is when you see a vulture and a snakehead sitting side by side on the brow of the king, such as this one on the Mask of Tutankhamun, which means that he was ruling over both Upper and Lower Egypt. Check back in tomorrow for more gods and goddesses of the Prince of Egypt.